And we are live this Sunday, February 6th, 2022. Sean, thank you for joining us again this week on the Half 100 #405 show. Unlike here where we got snow, you got to enjoy sunny Orlando, but I've heard that iguanas and vultures are falling from the sky. So how's that going down there?
Who's a what now?
Down in Florida, I've heard that y'all have a little bit of a cold snap going on right now. And
Not right now, no. No.
Was it last week?
No, that was last week. It gets cold for like a week here, then it's over. Really, we get like it gets into the mid 30s overnight. Yeah, and that's about it. Like during the day, it's in the 50s, and it's like I better put on a sweater or something, and I'm good to go.
Meanwhile, here it's like, oh yeah, we all need to make it home early because we don't want to be in the street when traffic is hitting with snow.
No, I miss that shit because you know why? Because the way the room here is so. The airflow is not as great as I want it to be, so I'm constantly like airing it out, and I got plenty of Febreze and stuff, so I was constantly air out. I do laundry once a week just because, and whenever it gets cold, my room temperature feels normal and comfortable, and I love that week out of the air. I'm just like, I'm not sweating bullets like every night in the Florida heat. So I enjoy this time of year where it's like I can sleep and not wake up. I'm drenched in sweat, so there's no point in showering in the evening. I have to shower in the morning anyway, so
Yep. I mean, that's me with the Oklahoma humidity and everything. I have a friend, I showed her some snow pictures. She lives overseas, and she's like, this is amazing to see. I'm like, it's just a couple inches of snow. She's like, no, you don't understand. I live on an island. Snow does not exist for us. It's hot. It is very hot near the equator. I'm like, oh, yeah, you don't have snow, do you? She's like, no. So
no, I don't know how people would handle snow here.
They would melt down. They would melt down. Sean, we are officially over the first of three humps at this point. National Signing Day 2 Electric Boogaloo is over. Within really the only things we have to look forward to for college football before we're kind of in that 4-month span of low-key stuff is National Signing, or not National Signing Day, the NFL draft, and then the spring game at this point. But we made it through Signing Day 2.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go through a bit of a lull anyway, because I mean, for OU right now, I mean, we just got a wide receiver commit for 2023, so that was cool.
Yeah.
But I don't foresee any football content until we get like a spring football schedule or practice. So in the meantime, you can watch OU men's basketball.
God, okay? Off topic. Is that something that you expected it to be? Because I expected them to kind of be that this year. Of this is a transition year. This is definitely
I'm not gonna be like I'm not upset overall because it's year one for Porter Moser, but it's frustrating to watch this team. You know they could play with most of these teams outside of like Baylor and Kansas. Like I don't expect them to win those But it's like, they can win a lot of these games, but they just make stupid decisions on the offensive side of the ball. They turn the ball over way too many times, and it just like snowballs. And they get into these like double-digit, deficits, and you see them scrape and claw back every single game. And even when it looks like they're down 9 points with a minute and a half left, they still find a way to get close, and they still come up short. And it's just frustrating because no one besides Elijah Harkless can make a shot when they absolutely have to, and he's a turnover machine at times. Tanner Groves is just disappeared from the offensive side of the ball, and you're just this looked like a solid tournament team, like November, December, and now it's like, I mean, they still might make the tournament just because they're Big 12 and like 7, 8 teams might make it regardless. But man, and it's not getting any easier. Next week's schedule is tough too. They needed to win this past Saturday with Bedlam, and they lost that one. So
yeah, they did. Well, and it's what you said. They have a very slight chance, probably because the rest of the Big 12 is so stinking good. That might be the only reason why they get in. they're not.
I mean, OU got in the year with Trey Young, and I thought they shouldn't have gotten in. They got in because they were in the Big 12, and they had a crappy second half, and because they figured out how to guard Trey Young, or should I just say, just guard Trey Young and make the rest of the team try to win? What a concept, and that worked. OU was one and done in the tournament.
And that's how I feel with this team is you can see the coaching is there. The talent is just not there. It just seems like it's all first half and then they fall apart really quick.
Like I said, I gotta give Porter at least another year or two, to figure things out. And, it'll get easier when we go to the SEC, ironically.
It will. That's the funny part with it.
Like, we'll have a much better shot at like just doing some damage. Like, we'll play Kentucky on occasion, but Vanderbilt and the Mississippi schools and Georgia and Alabama is a solid 25 team at times. But anyway, that's basketball.
Well, here's the flip side. Steve brought up, and I was going to say it too. It's bizarre world because while the men's is very lackluster, the women's have been on point.
I would love to watch the team, but I don't have Bailey, Oklahoma, so I can't watch them. So it's just I would love to watch this team. I think they're gonna be a tournament team, and it'll be interesting to see what they make a run. But best so far producing on the court, it's like one of the best coaching hires we've had in a while outside of football. So
yeah, I was the one who said it where I was like, unpopular opinion, but Sherry was cashing it in for about 5 years. It was time to get a new coach, but there was no coaches out there.
It's easy to get away with that because I'll just call it like I say, you can get away with that with women's sports because they can be if you're really good, people notice, but if you're not, you're invisible and people don't care. That's just the sad fact, but it's true.
I'll give you a story really fast from it. It's someone that I know. I'm not going to say name or anything with it because it was trying to hold me in confidentiality. But to get in how bad the Sherry Cole coaching staff was, we had a couple gals in the state that were great in-state talent. Like, I want to say they were 4 stars easily. One was on like the verge of being a 5-star. They said none of the Oklahoma staff talked to them throughout their entire high school career. So they passed on them. They said, we don't have any interest in Oklahoma. If you're not going to come down the street 20 minutes to come see us, it's not worth our time. And they said that's probably why a lot of she couldn't fill scholarships. And to me, that's a sign of it's time to retire.
She had a Josh Heupel mentality when it came to recruiting, is what you're saying.
Yeah, that they had the mentality of you should come here because it's OU and stuff. We don't need to come to you. No, you need to go out there. You need to go out there and see the kids. They want to be recruited. They want to have the coaches show up. It's a special moment for them.
I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to do that. I want to stay here. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The parents were offended by that. They're like, that's your job is to go out and see these kids, and especially in the off season. That is what you're getting that paycheck. So anyway, they were very heated about that, and I don't know where she's ending up, where she got recruited at this point, but it was a hot topic for a while of why isn't OU? That's where they wanted one of the schools, or Oklahoma State, but Oklahoma State's another matter entirely. So, but yeah, let's talk shop. Let's talk football with it. So. National Signing Day too. It came, it passed. We got 4 recruits, and I think Sooner Scoop said this was the first time since 2007 where we actually had 4 guys sign on signing day. Like, this is where they wanted to go, which hasn't been heard of for almost 15 years now, which is kind of a big deal.
You mean like guys who made their decision on signing day?
Yeah,
they didn't announce a couple days before and then sign. They announced on signing day.
Correct. Outside of Gentry Williams, it was not Gavin Sawchuk. It was Cavante Henry, Grayson Halton, Burt, and Thomas. They were the 4 that day.
I'm still amazed that of everything that's happened before and after that Gentry Williams is an Oklahoma Stater. It's just, and credit to Joshua Question. He kept telling us over and over again, like, it's fine. He wants to go to OU. He wants to be. I was like, okay, but we've just been. Over the years of in-state high-caliber defensive backs, like for whatever reason, we can't lock them down. Like last one that that was highly rated, like Stephen Parker, but we landed some guys that during their college career people didn't like, and Trey Norwood and Trey Brown, but they finished strong. And hey, they had some great rookie seasons. But it's like a 4-star legit blue chip defensive back in our state, committed to us, stayed signed to us, and wasn't poached. A miracle has happened after everything that went down. Cavante Henry is a guy that looked like he was going to Arizona, and then that didn't happen. And then I would like to thank Jim Harbaugh for being the biggest moron on the planet for all the turmoil. Because
I want to add something to that as well when you're saying that, because my buddy was fully convinced, and if Andrew, you are watching, shout out to you, buddy. He was convinced Harbaugh was signing with the Vikings because he's like, you don't fly somebody out unless it's signed in the contract. Harbaugh messed up.
Well, Harbaugh didn't get the memo that he thought he treated it like he was an A-list Hollywood star, that he was just attached to the film and didn't have to do a screen test. He was going up for his screen test, his interview, and he thought he had the job. It was like, and he was telling coaches and assistants, and it was just a horrible look for him on national, even though it's not the big signing day anymore. A day where you're supposed to be at your school with your state media, so to speak, telling you how great the program is and how great it is to finally beat Ohio State, win a Big Ten title, go to the playoff, and say we're going to take the next step. He's not there for that, and just the optics. And now you're literally in a marriage where you're staying together for the kids. Both sides don't want to be there. Jim Harbaugh don't want to be at Michigan. I don't think Michigan, like the administration, wants Jim Harbaugh, but they're stuck with each other. And it's going to be those awkward moments at the dinner table every night where we can't get married because it's against our Lord Jesus. And I don't know how that's going to work out. I'm hoping it works out for a guy like Josh Connerly. And I don't know, like now, so Miami thinks they got in for him. And then there's Washington, which makes sense. And, literally down the street from him up in Seattle. But I would hope, Venables talked about, we have two guys that he hopes to get, and one of them is Josh Connerly, and the other one is LT Overton, who reclassified for 2022. That is something that has been talked about behind the scenes since last year. Shout out to Grimlock. He's not watching, but but Grimlock's the guy said there's a lot of smoke. LT Overton's going to reclassify, and it's like it didn't happen at the time. I was like, really? Because he was the number 2 player overall for 2023. And all of a sudden you get to this week and it's like, oh, he's reclassifying. And we're in the mix. Now, are we the favorites? No. It feels like right now it's a Georgia Texas A&M battle. However, I would guess we're third right now. I don't think Ohio State and Oregon are realistic at this point. The good news is he's a Sooner legacy.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but do you think Oregon is still in the picture just because Dan?
I mean, they're in the picture, but I wouldn't put them above us right now. I'd say we're a solid third. So, Dad's a former Sooner, played offensive line at Oklahoma.
Legacy player. Yep.
Mom's an Aggie, though. Moms usually win this battle. Aggies are.
Yeah, they do.
And now Aggies are very, very loaded on the D line. So are you just going to go and add to that D line and, you're just another guy, or could you stand out and be part of something? There's different ways you could sell this, but every school's going to get a visit. People are telling me that he's going to have this done by April. I mean, I haven't heard anyone say that officially yet, but that makes sense. But he's going to be on a campus and for the fall. So this is the first big challenge for Todd Bates and Brent Venables. Can they win that living room? Is that in-home visit or whatever, or the visit that he's going to come up? Can they win that battle? Can they overcome A&M and Georgia? Because for him, Georgia's just down the road. Lives in state, So I would love to see if we could pull off that coup. It doesn't feel like it should be a coup because a quote unquote legacy player, but who Dindy was legacy too, in a sense. Parents were big OU people, but
yeah,
losing Dindy still sucks. But
that's the one that hurts.
There's a chance there, but overall, to look at this class, that's composite number 8 overall, and that we were able to keep a lot of it together. Lost some big pieces. We were able to gain some big pieces like Nick Evers and Jen Gibson at wide receiver. Pull out 9 guys from the transfer portal. Guys who are going to be, some guys are going to be immediate contributors. Some guys are going to be utility pieces or just adding depth. Expect we're still going to be going after guys in the portal on the offensive side of the ball because you never know who's going to pop up. So look for, because we need receiver help and offensive line. We still need more offensive line help. Now, maybe not immediately, but for 2023, they got to hit home runs. Because we have to hit home runs for 2023 on O-line. We got a really solid class this year of guys, but with Josh Bates for 20, he's like this is the beginning. We need to add more pieces. So if we could magically win a battle and get, I don't expect Connerly, unfortunately. I don't expect to win that battle, but 2023 is going to be important for O-line. But
what about when you mentioned like the O-line, you mentioned the offense. That's kind of the thought I had too, because when I looked at the final kind of recruits, it seems like the transfer portal has been our friend for the offense. For the defense, it's been Venables. Like he hit the ground running with it, and that's kind of his class. How I would define this class is a defensive class with this at this point.
Well, yeah, he went and got a ton of defensive backs, and I think the one I like is the kid out of North Carolina. He was like a Swiss Army knife for the secondary. We only got him for 1 year, but
Trey Morrison,
Trey Morrison, he can play anywhere. That's how good he is. So it's like, okay, man, our strong safety's hurt this week. I got it. Free safety, I got it. Boundary corner, got it. Field corner, got it. Nickel, got it. He can do it all. So just use him to wherever you need to put a guy, you can put him. So I think the secondary has a chance to be really good next year. Overall,
I think so too.
Like I like the pieces. Just when you look at the Key Lawrence come back, Billy Bowman year 2, Woody Washington and DJ Grant, just the potential that's there, it has me excited. And the D line is not going to be as talented as it was this past year, but you're going to have some good pieces. Jalen Redmond's going to be your linchpin there, and it's going to be interesting to see how a guy's like a Kelvin Gilliam steps up, guys like that, the Tulane transfer coming in, how he's gonna impact things. Reggie Grimes is gonna take the next step. So just but the one thing I take into consideration with all of this is that they got to learn new defense. Venables, historically, when he was here last as our D coordinator, one of his criticisms is that that the players were thinking too much. They were learning so much. He was trying to make them the perfectly crafted player that could do it all, multiple stuff. And guys like Travis Lewis would go to the league and get complimented because he knew so much and he was very, knowledgeable. He knew how to do a bunch of different things, but everyone wasn't able to pick up or be as good as Travis Lewis or whatever. Yeah. So what in the past 10 years, what has he learned? How has he adjusted his, because I would assume he's become a much better coach over the past 10 years, just based on the results we've seen at Clemson. So
I don't know. That's 2 rings. I mean, he could have gotten 3.
I mean, he's played in 30 playoff games and this and that, but yeah, just, again, the class as a whole, Dylan Gabriel comes in as a transfer. Just what's funny is it's a number 8 class. It's technically higher ranked than the last 2. Yeah. But you look at the top 4 of A&M, Bama, Georgia, Texas is up there. Who am I missing? Just all the schools that are up there. The gap of the top 4 and 5 between the rest of the top 10 is so big right now. So we have a number 8 class, and that's great, but just the ridiculous amount of talent that's being stockpiled in the top 4 of Bama, Georgia, A&M, and so forth, it's ridiculous. It is absolutely insane. And I think we can get there somewhat close to that level. It's going to take a couple years, but man, oh man, I'll tell you what, just it's I'm glad that we have another year in the Big 12 now to kind of get ready for that and to see, just to give Brent and his staff a full year on the trail, because I'm excited for 2023 and the possibilities, because just what they can do, one thing out there with Todd Bates, as a closer, if those guys can get in someone's top 3 or 5 and be able to close, I like our chances each and every time we do it now. Yeah. Because I think that was the one thing Riley just, we weren't
Excuse
great.
Me, sir. In this household, we say Tebow.
we weren't great closers at times.
No, it was we played. I defended Grinch's style on defense with it, but for Riley, Tebow, however you want to say it, unless you're I think it's not Josh McQuestion, Kerry, where he's like, it's Tebow. We're like, no, you're the only one who says that.
No, he's the one who says that. No.
You're the only one who says that.
You're the only one who say that. No, but it's just
plays like into the half, and then he clams up and he plays to survive. He does not play to win with it. He plays that. I could go on that tangent for a while.
Listen, I'll admit, I defended Grinch. Like, Grinch to me wasn't the problem per se overall. I blame the man who's in charge. But for me with Grinch, I keep saying this over and again. I supported Grinch because the recruiting was getting better. Like, we were like, if things had stayed the same right now, Gabe Dindy is on this roster. Marvin Jones Jr. is on this roster. Defensive recruiting is not suffering. So I just want to get that away right now. Like, I was loving. We would have had like Marvin Jones got his 5th star from Rivals like after all the chaos happened. It's like, well, we're not getting him now. Yeah. Like, we probably like we were looking good on getting Devin Campbell too, apparently. So I don't know. I mean,
to Tebow's credit,
we would have had 4 or 5 stars on this recruiting class.
Yeah, but to his credit though, he can market. That's kind of his thing. He can do the recruiting, he can market, but the player development has suffered. Like, even I said it. We were on our very first live streams, Sean, almost a year ago, this July, and we said the same thing of the player development hasn't been that good. And whose fault is that? Is it Benny Wiley's? Was it Riley? Was it the coaching staff?
I mean, it was we've all seen. I mean, what makes it easier now is that the era is over. So now we can look at what took place and we can dissect it. We can judge it now. And it's a lot easier to do that now. If we were still in the era, it's like, I would still be guys like, okay, let's see what happens next year. Because I'm a positive guy. If he was still here and none of this had went down and like things were status quo, hunky dory, number one, if none of that stuff was going down this year, we probably win the Big 12, go in the playoff.
Yep.
And we probably lose. Like that's probably what would have happened. Like, think about it. If Riley was focused and wasn't like looking at other jobs, we win the Big 12. We're a 1-loss team. We go to the playoff, and we probably lose.
I agree with you.
I mean, I kept saying we were going like, if Oklahoma State had won, they would have jumped Cincinnati. I would have put money on that, but they didn't win, so it didn't matter anyway because Baylor's 2-loss game. Well, they came up about half a yard short. But point of the matter is that, like we, at the end of the day, we needed this to happen on some level. We needed to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. Because if we're gonna go, like we couldn't take what we were doing was just based on everything we saw was not going to work in the Southeastern Conference. We needed the ability to not just recruit big time players on the front 7. Like, they got to be able to be developed. They got to be able to make plays. And Brent Venables has proven that he can go toe to toe with the SEC big boys and win big games with his defense. Like, Clemson took a step back this year. What was the one thing that was consistent all year? The defense. Brent's defense and Todd Bates. Like, that kept them in ball games they probably should have lost against Boston College and other teams. Like,
it reminded
me if it wasn't for a pick 6 by Clemson, because Georgia beat Clemson on a pick 6.
Yeah,
that's it. Wasn't like it was field goals and a pick 6. That was the only touchdown scored that game. So, regardless, I'm looking forward to what next year and the year after that holds for Oklahoma. Now, we can talk about. I don't know. Is there anyone else in the class you're interested in, or now?
I'm curious because I had to bring my notes up because I'm still relatively new at the recruiting part and like picking out. All right, that's where we're looking at connecting the dots.
I'll tell you what. If y'all want football content, y'all better get into recruiting, and you better start warming up to some 3 stars. And I like that. That's another thing. There are some 3 stars out there. People thumb their noses at the idea of 3 stars, but then you get a few months down the road. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they got their 4th star. They're good now.
Yep.
Like R. Mason Thomas for example, is a steal. Now he's like a 4-star. Like I think he's like a composite 3, but 24/7 individually has him as a 4. That dude can play. Like he's one of the Florida kids. Now, ironically, I thought we were going to lose out him and get him on Moten, but it turned out to be vice versa.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up.
It turned out to be vice versa. Like Ahmad Moten was a guy because I kept hearing R. Mason Thomas was the guy who was like homesick, wanted to stay home, but it turned out it was the opposite. It was Ahmad Moten because they're both teammates, and it's like okay, like losing out on Ahmad Moten sucks, but R. Mason Thomas is a guy I kept hearing great things about. You watch it, like the dude is just so quick off the snap, so good.
And they also said even though R. Mason Thomas was like, no, this is not the case, guys. They kept saying, well, Ahmad and R. Mason, they're a package deal. They're going to go wherever. And he kept saying, no, it's not. I'm going to make my own decision. And we finally saw that on signing day where he broke away from Ahmad.
Well, they had like 3 different tables set up because they had multiple. So they didn't have like if they had a dual table set up, you know, they're going to the same school. But yeah, I'm excited about him. Cavante Henry has a lot of upside. Just trying to think of I think.
Let me you brought while you're mentioning it, I do want to mention it because the chat's mentioning it as well. I think it's important to note too, getting into recruiting stuff, because I'm still learning it. That's the big thing about the star system, and the star system's its own crazy world of where they come up with these stats, what the potential. I think a lot of people also misunderstand what the stars are. Of like, there is solid 3-star guys, but it's just what their ceiling is. And when you see a guy who's maybe in 10th grade, maybe 11th grade, he still hasn't hit that peak yet.
Well, it's not just that. It's like guys, star ratings are a guy who's like a really good 3-star. Usually he's a 3-star because he doesn't have the size to go along with the talent, allegedly, right?
Correct.
Like take Hollywood Brown, right? Amazing wide receiver, super small, but he's fast and he can burn you. And he's playing in the league. He's like, he's too small to play. You know, another guy who I'm thinking Oklahoma's going to get later this year at some point is Dylan Edwards. He's a 3-star running back who can. The dude's fast. Like if you want to have your own version of Darren Sproles at OU, it's this guy. It's this kid.
Yeah,
and he can run. He can run wide receiver routes. I'm excited. Like the moment he commits, and he will. I think he will. It's like I'm going to get excited. It's like it'll be the most excited I've been for a 3-star ever.
Do you think he's going to get another star?
Probably. It all depends. It's like a lot of this depends on what state you play in, what's the level of competition, because where do the big 4 stars and 5 stars come from for the most part? Cali, Texas, Florida, Georgia. Georgia. It all depends. Like if you go to IMG or whatever, so it all depends. What kind of talent are you going? If you're doing this amazing stuff against the highest level of Texas football, like 7A or whatever, how many A's they have out there, you're going to get a higher value rating. Some guys, it doesn't matter what level you're on. It's just you go watch Derrick Henry in his high school Florida film from Florida. That guy's good. He just broke every high school record known to man. But
it's also like, for example, I was watching. I forgot if he was a junior right now with it. When I went to a high school game this fall with it, I saw a guy who was just incredibly fast, incredibly quick, but he was small and he was a 3-star, and he already got an offer from Air Force to go play out there for him. He's going to do great out there, but I could see why they don't expect him to grow anymore.
Plus, you fit the offensive system like DeAndre Moore. Decommitted from Oklahoma. He was the one guy who was still on board, but apparently, according to the Scoop guys on the pod, they're saying that this came from the Oklahoma side, and like he may not fit the system that Lebby wants, or he's not the type of guy they're looking for. He still wants to come here, and he may still eventually end up here at the end of the day. But I was like, what the hell's going on? I was like, wow. I was like, Lebby's like, nah, I don't think this is the guy we want. I was like, okay, all right.
It reminds me a lot too with the star system. I'm rewatching The Last Dance, and it in episode 2 they mentioned how Scottie Pippen, when he really started to get into his role and really learn the system and dedicate it, he grew like 5 inches, and they're like, that just doesn't happen unless they are actively doing that, and your body's just adjusting to that. So we don't know what these recruits and stuff are going to look at. These coaches are so smart.
I need to say this too. This doesn't mean that stars don't matter. Stars matter. Okay, yeah. So you like just because you find a handful of like diamond in the rough like kit guys that end up being way better than they're rated, that's great. I love having those guys. I still want Anthony Hill. I still want LT Overton. I still want all of these guys. I still want Hicks. I still want all of these guys that we could potentially go out and get to add to this roster, because Gerald McCoy is a 5-star. We wanted him. We got him. It took him. Yeah. It took Gerald McCoy had to redshirt his first year. People forget that. It's like he got his like he had to get his ass in shape for 06. So until he broke out in the scene in 07. But yeah.
For recruits too, I do have it up. Who do you think was the best recruit we got from the 21 kids that signed? Like, I know a lot of people are saying Gentry Williams, but I'm also seeing Gavin Sawchuk. Those are kind of the two that are competing.
Javonte Barnes better than Gavin Sawchuk.
Really?
Yeah, Javonte Barnes is gonna be a star, dude. Yeah, Javonte Barnes.
Do you think,
like Gavin Sawchuk, I'm excited about. I think he'll be a really solid running back for Oklahoma, but Javonte Barnes is like, of those two, is the star. Javonte Barnes is the guy, is like, yes, sir. Jane Gibson is a guy I'm like, Rivals has him as the highest rated guy on their site. I know like other places have other players, but I mean, Gentry is exciting, of course. See, I don't have the, let me pull up the.
That's what I had it all listed down with it. So, okay, so that's actually going to kind of be my part 1 and my part 2. So from the 21 kids from that now, what about the transfer portal? I'm not going to.
Well, hang on. Like if you want my honest, like really most excited player for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, we've talked about him before. Jaron Kinnick is the guy I'm most excited about.
Oh, the kid from Kansas who was like, I'm coming with the Venables wherever you go, even have to walk on.
If he doesn't contribute this year, he must be hurt or something. I don't know what his role exactly is going to be, but I am excited about Jaron Kinnick. It is the possibilities that, because linebacker is just going to be a strength for this team going forward.
Yeah.
With the guys we already have currently on the roster going through winter workouts, and the guys we got coming in like Kinnick and Kobe McKenzie and Kip Lewis. It's just, I am super, super excited for what those guys bring to the table. So yeah, like Kinnick's the guy I'm most excited about especially on the defensive side of the football. But yeah, I am very, very looking forward to see what he can do.
What about now for the transfers? Not, in my opinion, not including Gabriel, because he was an absolute need, so I don't want to include him. But I mean, to me, that's the obvious go-to answer.
We already talked about Trey Morrison, so I mean, he's kind of like if Jeffrey Johnson, maybe. I mean, if we're like excitement level, it's Trey Morrison. I'd say I'm the most excited about, because he could, he's just a really good football player. We got him for a year. I mean, Dylan Gabriel is like the guy. I mean, I know you're trying to, but like Daniel Parker, tight end, he's like a blocker. He loves to block. Most of these offensive linemen, some of them will contribute. Like McCabe Tower will contribute. But guys like a Kyle Ergenbright, a Tyler Guyton, they're just guys for the depth chart, in my opinion. Like, I don't expect them to contribute like right away. Like, they're going to be in the mix to start. If they're in the mix to start, I think we're in trouble. All due respect.
We're still also recruiting while I have my list up with it as well. We're still, you mentioned LT Overton. Are we still trying to recruit? I had this name on the side, Josh Connerly out of Washington. Are we still trying to get him, or is that battle already done?
Yeah, I talked about him for like 5 minutes, like before.
Then who else am I thinking of? I thought there was another one. Then maybe I have the wrong one written down, because I thought there was.
No, Connerly's the guy I was talking about. Because
okay, then maybe I mixed it up. So okay.
Yeah, I talked about it for like 5 minutes.
Okay, I must be thinking of then another guy then at this point where it was like this was another battle.
No, I mean, like the only two guys for the class left over are going to be him, and just because he reclassed LT Overton. So
maybe that's what I'm thinking of. Maybe it was the reclass is what I'm thinking of. Not for somewhat weird reason. I kept thinking it was
Connerly is a guy who just he's not signing till like next month. I think he can. I don't know what I know you can sign up to a certain point. I just don't know the date. But he just said I'm not signing till March. Like, all right, because he was a heavy Michigan lean for a while, and you can understand why he's taking time because all the chaos at Michigan.
Right.
And then and they lost their offensive coordinator to Miami, and Miami is really excited about the potential. Because like their the OC at Michigan was really recruiting him hard to go there. And now Miami fans think they got the end on him, so I don't blame him for thinking that. But
Josh Gaddis, right?
Yeah. So
wasn't he the one that was like today where he thought he had the job, and then Harbaugh just like walked back and he's like, "Oh."
Well, no, he's like, there's so much crap going on at Michigan, and Harbaugh's just screwed everything up. Like he finally beats Ohio State, wins the Big Ten title, gets to the playoff, and because it was a dumpster fire the year before, you right the ship, and now you screw it up again. Only Jim Harbaugh could figure out a way to screw this up. So, anyway, that's that.
What about besides Michigan? What about Auburn?
What about
Auburn's
Auburn?
having some issues. Aren't they having some issues too right now?
I mean, is it official? Was someone fired yet? That we're supposed to hear about it tonight. I haven't paid attention.
I haven't seen anything.
Tank Bixby, come on home, man. Come on back.
I mean, if it's been fired, what about that was what I was thinking of, Sean. It wasn't Connerly. It was is there any players we're looking at in the transfer portal that we may have looked at before? It was the kid it was the running back that we tried to recruit, but Bama got him. I can't think of his name though. He was the five that we
No, move on. We're going next.
So you don't think he's going to come here?
No. God,
okay.
No.
Okay. I didn't know. I didn't know.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No.
That's a big yes. Okay. No. Okay. Gotcha. Now I got you. Okay.
I want nothing to do with that shit.
Woo! Put them in
never again.
Ever again.
So people keep asking about that. It's like, no, we're not. No, it's not happening. Oklahoma wants nothing to do with them.
Good. Okay. I wasn't. That's what my mind was thinking of. So. What?
I'm not saying, and I'm not saying as a secret thing that he's in trouble or he's got off the field issues. Just don't want anything to do with it.
It's better just to avoid drama.
Yeah.
Be proactive about it versus reactive. Yes. Got it. No, that's fine. That's fine. That's who I was thinking of. I just couldn't think. I was like, Carly, but you mentioned, yeah, it was Wheaton. That's who it was. So, so then final kind of look with the recruiting class at this point. You mentioned the best from like the transfers and best with like who we actually signed. Or would your answers remain the same for like the best pickup for the offense and the defense? Probably it's the same thing. Kinnick and I think you said where was the other guy? Out of the offense, I was trying to find it.
I mean, you can pick between Jane Gibson, Devontae Barnes, the tight ends we got. Yeah, it just kind of depends, but I think Devontae Barnes has a chance to be a really, really good football player at Oklahoma. So, like, I'm excited about him. So, but yeah, that's kind of that's where we're at. Like, we got to for a transitional class that's top 10 and is highly ranked in the last two previously.
Yeah,
not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean. What I have to give a shout out, and I know he's not watching, but I have to give a shout out to Venables for what he has done roughly in a 2-month span, coming in, being excited for the program, getting players that we initially never probably had a chance with, and now they signed.
He's like doing in-home visits and making the parents cry, like legitimate tears, sobbing.
Yeah, well, and it's just like it's crazy to think how much, and you saw it during signing day. Like, really, the first signing day is the big signing day, but this one's more of they make it about the players. They make it like it was Josh McCuistion and Casey Murdoch who were saying, "Oh, we asked Carrie. I said Casey, my bad. Carrie. They talked to the Seminoles. We're going to ask you a question," and then he went 45 minutes into the question. They're like, "This is such a new world we're in." Where Riley would just be like,
Well, the day before on signing day, he was using like wherever he I forget where he was. I don't know if he wasn't in Norman, I don't think, but he was using like he must have been using the McDonald's Wi-Fi from down the street because he kept cutting in and out. And so they literally set it up on Thursday, and he did a 90-minute Zoom call.
Yeah,
which is like Tebow would never do. Tebow would never do a 90-minute Zoom call. Tebow tries to get out of those things as quick as he can. That's what I loved. That's one thing I'll miss. It's like, man, Tebow gets these things done in like 20 minutes flat, and then I can do my recap videos and just like move on with my day and just whatever. But I do miss that aspect a little bit. But I don't think we're gonna have 90-minute like weekly, press conferences during the season or anything. But it'll be.
I don't think
that's what I'm
exciting.
Well, that's what I'm interested to see what's going to happen. Like, what is the access level to the program going to be like when you go, especially because spring ball is coming up, and for the beat reporters who cover this team, it's just okay. There's going to be some familiarity because Brent used to be there, so guys like Gabe and Teddy will probably have an in. But and who knows, like maybe the Scoop guys will have an in. But it's just like, are we going to get more information? Is it going to be a more friendly local media type of program than it was under Lincoln? So it'll be fascinating to see how that pans out. But again, we'll see how. We just have to wait and see. We got about at least a month before any serious spring ball talk starts because we're just at that point where it's like, okay, football talk is going to cut because we got the Super Bowl on Sunday, and then I think that's kind of the cut because we got an OU players guaranteed to win a ring, whether it's Obo or for the most part Joe Mixon and Samaje, who are the main contributors for Cincinnati. And I know people say, well, what about like Jordan Evans is inactive, so I don't think he's playing, which sucks. But does OU have a shot against David Hicks? Yes, him and Anthony Hill.
Is Anthony Hill the JUCO out of?
No, he's a 5-star linebacker.
Who's the JUCO?
No, David Hicks is like a 5-star DN. Anthony Hill's a 5-star linebacker. We have a legit chance to get both of them.
But we're still a while off from them even considering it.
I mean, they could verbally commit. They're 23 guys. They could sign in December, but they could verbally commit any time. I'm sure that they're not going to because everyone's going to go after them. Like, but these are that's what's exciting. These are the battles we're in now.
Yeah,
we had 2 legit 5-stars who we have a legit shot to get, who already kind of took who came for junior days or whatever. And it's like,
which I heard was really well. I heard little inklings weeks ago, but they're like junior day actually went like very smoothly. Everybody enjoyed their time and they had a lot of fun.
Yeah. So like I'm excited for what like I said, I'll keep saying this over and over again. I'm excited for 2023. I'm excited.
I guess my next question would be, do you think, since it's kind of in the realm of recruiting, are we going to have something like the barbecue and stuff again with the just Venable style, or do you think they're going to do their own type of thing?
I mean, that's a question for him, and I'm like they're good. Listen, they're going to have some sort of July event, whatever you want to call it, the barbecue or just whatever it is they're going to do. They're going to have an event. Like everyone does one, so it's like just because a certain someone left and is not coming back doesn't mean you don't. Okay, well this worked. Let's keep doing that. Now, are you going to have a bunch of like high dollar value cars on the field? Maybe Brent's not going to go down that road, but Brent can still bring back old play. Like he's going to hire half the former OU players who aren't playing in the league to be his like analysts. That's what he's doing right now. Like how many former players are going to be analysts now? So Yeah, so you could still, and that works to your advantage because they can do the dirty work for being analysts, and they're also, oh, by the way, I used to play here, and I can tell you all about what it was like to play for him as a D coordinator back in 06, 07, 08, 09, and tell you like good stories and talk about what a guy he is. And I have this isn't new for me, I know. So we have that built-in advantage there. So, but yeah, there'll be a July event of some sort or summer event that people get excited for.
What was the other one I was thinking of with it? Because there was the spring event. That's probably going to be big because that's going to be Brent Venables' like big welcome back thing with it, COVID permitting, what they want to do with that. There is the
they're going to have a
draft,
spring game.
is,
they're going to.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a spring game. I just don't know what it's going to look like versus years past.
The state of Oklahoma don't give a damn about Omicron. They're going to have an event. They're going to have a spring football game. I promise you.
Yeah, that's probably true.
This fan base is going to be so starved for that spring game. And you know what I hope they do? I really hope they did what they did a couple years ago when I went with you. Make it a night game. Make it a big deal.
Yeah.
Do what they did a couple years ago. And just make it an event.
Make it. It's one of the things I always complained about, that the spring game was just, it was there. If they keep it at night,
the spring game in the middle of the afternoon on a Saturday, because we don't get hype for a spring game like Bama does. We just don't. Yeah, it's like we don't sell like a day like Bama, like whatever Bama know, like for whatever reason, Bama just like they love that. Like they sell out their damn spring game practically. There's like maybe 1,000 or 2 seats that are not filled. People show up to that damn thing. But,
well, with NIL, and speaking of that, we're getting the limited. We can finally buy players with their names on them jerseys through OU now. Everyone's like, get everybody, not just the offensive guys.
I mean, I'm going to turn 40 at the end of the year. I won't be buying a jersey because I've officially evolved into the. I'll wear T-shirts and polo. I gotta wear polos, man. Like I gotta wear polos and khaki shorts and everything. I gotta be, or jeans, depending on the weather. I gotta be.
I love wearing jerseys, and I'm gonna hate that.
I can't wear jerseys anymore. I'm too old for wearing jerseys. Like the last time I wore a jersey, I got myself a Bradford BCS jersey. That was the last time I wore one.
No,
I'm not in my 20s anymore. I can't be wearing jerseys. I can't do it.
For me, that's my comfort though, is being able to just put a T-shirt on.
The exception to the rule, if I have like a classic jersey, like if someone got me like a Bosworth 86 Orange Bowl jersey, I would wear that. But I can't wear. I can't wear another. Just can't do it. Can't wear a jersey.
Oh man, see, that's my tradition. Usually I get a new hat every July, and then I always get a jersey about every 3 years.
Can't do it. Now, I did get Marvin Mims' shirt this year, and I do wear it. Like that's one of my favorite new shirts I wear on occasion. So I can still wear that one because he didn't abandon us. He didn't. No, I'll tell you what. I would have to. I don't know if I would burn it, but I would have to. I can't wear this anymore. Hurts too much.
Dagger heart. Twist, yeah. See, I'm gonna, but
they put you put up that hype video a couple days ago, and they had plays from last year, and it's hard to show plays without a certain someone making them, and that was just weird.
Well, okay, but that's actually on my kind of list thing. So the nightmare, Sean, also is finally over. We don't have to really talk about Caleb, but this entire
all right, we don't talk about it. Moving on.
But I want to still get it out. I don't want to get my rants out.
I already got it out. I already talked about that before. It's just
here's my question to you. Do you think it was Caleb, or do you think it was?
No, it's his dad. Of course, it's his dad. No, this was all his dad. This is all his dad doing this crap. His dad, and here's another thing. He was always going to USC. When he put the dots all together, it's like he was going to go to SC, but the reason why it took so long when you take a step back is like. They're trying to avoid like tampering charges and all this stuff and any potential things that could have like made things a hiccup for him. Like he was always going to SC. At the end of the day, he's always going to the SC. So I just and then you have that criminal, going on ESPN on signing day with the graphic that shows he's got his quote unquote quarterback following him from Oklahoma, and just we got to do something about the transfer portal. We got to do this and that. I'm just like, if I had a gun, I would have put it in my mouth and pulled the fucking trigger. Are you kidding me with this shit? Are you kidding me?
He's insane. He's absolutely insane.
He's a sociopath.
Realistically,
he's an absolute sociopath to go on ESPN and say, after taking our star quarterback, a 5-star wide receiver, and a highly touted defensive back, and like half the defensive coaching staff, he's like, we got to do something with the transfer portal. You know, it's just we got to find a way to do this. It's like he's insane. He's a sociopath. Like
he has to be, because there's no other reason, and he has to believe what he's saying. There's no way.
And here's the thing: everything he said is true. That's what makes it bad.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
No. Everything he said was correct, but the fact that it was coming from him is what made it so just completely batshit insane. He's trying to come off as the good guy. Like, no, Lane Kiffin's an asshole, but at least he owns it. Yeah. Jimbo Fisher is a crook and a fraud. I wish he'd own it a little more, because he got all butthurt when someone suggested there was like an NIL fund. It's like you pulled in like a monster class that Alabama's jealous of. Don't sit here and tell me that all of a sudden A&M's the place to go. Yeah, A&M's place to go. Like, because you beat Bama one time every 10 years, it's like, Bama's the place to go now. Now,
just like Oklahoma State, it's the place to go, Sean.
Now, look, the Aggies have been consistently getting top 10 classes with legit players. Not taking that away, but you guys raked in.
Yeah,
like it's on the level of that Georgia class from a few years ago, where unfortunately, a lot of those players kind of like is the Justin Fields class, where they had like 8 5-stars. And most of them didn't pan out. Still want a natty, though, at the end of the day. But most of them did not pan out. But it's a class on that level, like better, like higher rated or whatever. It's like the biggest, like in like the modern era of like internet recruiting with like all the websites. It's like the highest rated class ever. It's insane. And he gets all mad that like, the insinuation that NIL or a slush fund had something to do with it. Of course it did. Like, own it. Just own it.
What do you know about our cult slush
if I had Jeff Bezos Amazon money, I wouldn't think 2 seconds about putting a giant fund together. Just like get on the phone to Brent. What do you need? I'll write a check. I'll direct deposit whatever you need. How much you want? Add another $2 million. We got him. Boom. I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And Aggies, and listen, Texas and Texas A&M, they got the oil tycoons and they got the boosters to do this. So,
if they can keep the lights on, that's half the battle right there.
No, but I'm serious. Like, if the Longhorns and Aggies can get out of their own way, and I'm serious when I say this, if they can actually get out of their own way, they will dominate the SEC without question.
Because they have the money for it.
Yeah, they got more money than us. They got more money than Alabama. You think Alabama's got that type of money with boosters? No. They still got the cash with Saban. Saban's not going to last forever. So, like I've said for years that Texas A&M would one day be what they're slowly trying to become, but they can't get out of their own way. So it's just
Aggie got an Aggie.
No, but like if you don't listen, the pressure's on. If you don't win an Natty within the next 4 years,
yeah.
I don't want to hear about the SEC either. You beat Bama with like a quarterback with one leg. I don't want to hear it, or a shoulder, or whatever. Calzone, or whatever his name is, who's no longer there, by the way. He's transferred. Calzada.
Yeah.
And then you lose to you beat Bama, but lose to Mississippi State at home. Trying to figure that one out, but. Jimbo Fisher's more.
We've dropped those too.
Oh, well, Mr. John's asking who's more crooked, Fisher or Tebow? Well, see, here's the difference. Jimbo Fisher, Tebow is an undercover cunt. Jimbo Fisher is at least an out front cunt. So you know what his deal is. Like,
yeah.
Tebow is an undercover cunt. So you don't know till it's too late. So.
But that has hurt his reputation, though, a little bit with it, just going into the NFL or anything like that.
What reputation?
I would say Tebow a little bit,
Are you
barring
kidding?
unless they're really wanting someone. Yeah.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing for my fellow OU fans need to understand. And I love being like on Twitter lately. I love being a hype man. I love being a rah-rah guy because it's fun when there's something to be to hype up and get rah-rah about. But here's something people need to understand. Don't fall into the trap of being so mad at someone that you take away. You just assume they were never good to begin with because you fall into that trap that he always sucked. You're not mad that he left if he didn't bring value to your program. He did. That's why we're upset. If he really sucked like we all thought he did, we wouldn't be mad.
Correct.
We wouldn't be upset. So he's going to recruit some guys. He's going to have some highly rated teams. He's going to win some ball games this year. We'll see. Like if he has a winning record, it's a success based on what USC did last year. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend he didn't bring value because he did. The reason, we lost the ability with him and Simmons gone, we lost the ability to go out any quarterback we wanted and any wide receiver we wanted or be at least be in contention for him. We lost that ability. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward. Are we trading that in for, hey, we can have one of the top 3 defensive fronts in the country, depending on, once we get into the SEC and get recruited going, we can have a great defensive front year in and year out. Offensive side of the football, can we be good enough to score points and have our defense win us championships? But just don't fall into the trap that he sucks and he can't do this and that. Just be careful with that because you don't want to come off looking stupid.
Well,
that's my PSA for people. Riley could draw plays up in the dirt and do things like I'm going to miss that from him. But there are other aspects.
Last time he did that, let's be honest. Texas,
he knew he had to win that game. He couldn't screw that one up because. Correct. But
I really do feel like he got a dial and said, "You got to win this game."
Yeah,
I really do believe that. But that you mentioned though with the A&M, and you mentioned like the Jimbo Fisher, the money tycoons, and everything. I've had this thought running with me with Caleb Williams. Though, do you think that he held out so long with it? We all knew he was going to USC. I would be surprised.
No, he held out because if he went quick enough, then there would have been problems. There would have been accusations of tampering, and there would have been investigations.
But do you think as well the reason he held out was they thought they would get a much larger offer from other schools, and then it turned out the schools went, no, we're not going to give you that.
Here's what you got to understand. A lot of his stuff, he was like, Caleb Williams was going to be involved with a lot of stuff. But he got a Beats by Dre deal.
A what?
Beats by Dre. The headphones everyone loves.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So, does he get that at Oklahoma? Maybe. But it's a lot easier when you're out in LA and Snoop Dogg's around the corner and they're all the rap stars and everything. So, we can all. He claims he had a lot of these deals in the works before. So take that with a grain of salt. NIL is just going to be. It's going to keep evolving, and we're in year 2 now. So as you mentioned before, we got the jerseys coming out, which is going to be weird because I know there was before you couldn't have any logos involved with your name, and now you can. So we're all learning day by day, week by week, month by month, and what's allowed, what's not allowed. And there's going to be some sort of regulation because the NCAA just okay, we got to do it now, go. And it's the wild, wild west at the moment.
Which is weird because with my background, guys, for everybody, my undergrad is poli-sci, they could have, even with the Supreme Court's ruling, they could have had a basic thing that said, we're going to slowly implement this and not drop it immediately. That is completely reasonable, but they didn't. They just said, off to the masses, and that kind of exploded everything.
It wasn't a Supreme Court. It wasn't a Supreme Court thing, but it was multiple states enacted laws. Florida was one of the big ones. California was. Florida joined the party, and you can't have Florida and California schools or Texas schools be the only players in town. So they were forced. They had a gun to their head and said, you better wave a magic wand and say you can do this, or else you're going to have a lot of problems. But Caleb's gone. It's over. I you're gonna see some as an OU fan, to all other OU fans, you're going to see some very like vomit-inducing stuff once the season gets here. You're going to see some game day segments. You're going to hear all like. I'm looking forward to if we get a game in Norman, for example, Bedlam, a Baylor. We get a game day in Norman for whatever reason, and there's a big USC game that week or whatever, and they do like a Lincoln Riley segment or they talk about him. I'm looking forward to the fans behind the stage, behind the desk, and how they're gonna. I'm looking forward to the game day signs. I'm really, really looking forward to that because I love the Brandon Walkers of the world who are telling the fans to get over it. And I put out a tweet that got a little bit of a little traction. And I'm like, you're trying to tell us to get over it. I'm like, this is the fan base who is still not over a non-call on a punt return in 1971 versus Nebraska.
I'm bitter about that for my dad.
This is the fan base who was bitter about Keith Stanberry's interception not being ruled an interception in the end zone versus Texas, rolled out of bounds. That cost us a win. We had to settle for a tie. This is the fan base who is still when the Alamo Bowl was coming up against a depleted Oregon team, a game that I didn't give two shits about outside of Bob Stoops being the head coach. Everyone's saying revenge for Oregon, 06. I didn't care, but the fan base like this is revenge for 06. You're trying to you think we're gonna get over what happened at the end of November anytime soon?
Dude,
you think we're gonna get over this anytime soon as a fan base?
We're still bitter about Notre Dame beating us and ending the 47-game win streak. We're bitter about them beating us.
They won the game fair and square. They didn't cheat.
But we're bitter about it.
I know, exactly. But at the same time, it's like, I'm talking about moments where it felt like we were cheated out of something. That's what I'm talking about. That's why I picked those moments. But still, it's just...
What about that one time the Mafia drive?
Can we not go through the laundry list every time we believe we were screwed? Because we'll be here all night. I know you're talking about the Northwestern game from like 58 or 60 or whatever. But what I'm saying is that like telling us we're going to get over this, and then what also just like got me lit up and just not lit up, but just like made me laugh is that you got Stuart Mandel at the Athletic.
By the way, really fast. I'm happy because that was the next thing I wanted to bring up.
Okay,
go off, Sean. Go off.
Well, you don't have to stop me. Then why are you stopping me?
Because
so like it's just. What a slap in the face. It's just an insult that he had to say, like, listen, I'm not mad. No one should expect a national title or playoff appearance in year one. It's not going to happen. So let's just get that out of the way right now. I'll say this all year. The ceiling for this team is win a Big 12 title. Can they get to the game, 2 or 3 losses? I don't care. Can you get to that game one way, some way, somehow, and can you win that game? Can you peak in Arlington in early December with 2 or 3 losses? You're going to be a ranked team if you're in that game, by the way. So what irritates me is that we talk about everything that's talked about with Oklahoma from some people, especially Mandel, is that look at all they lost. Look at everything that they lost. Lost Lincoln Riley, lost Caleb Williams, Mario Williams, lost everything we lost. Okay, I mean, we didn't sit in the shower and cry for a month and a half. I mean, I did that for a day and a half, but not a month and a half. So, but like, this is the thing outside of the bubble, the Oklahoma bubble. There are people out there who are not impressed or as excited about the Brent Venables hire as we are. Believe it or not, there are people who don't think it's a big deal. I remember when this national stuff, I watched Cowherd. It's like, Cowherd's like, the Venables thing. He kind of poo-pooed it a little bit. There are people who think that. They're more excited about, Brian Kelly to LSU, Tebow to USC, because with him USC feels relevant to a lot of people now because him coaching there, because there's been this thirst for the West Coast to get back into the game, for the Pac-12 to finally have a real legit contender, because even though Oregon's been really good beforehand with Cristobal before he left, that didn't matter. Kyle Whittingham at Utah, it doesn't move the needle. But the flashiness, the blue blood that is USC, Los Angeles, Southern California, that the TV market could get back involved, because I love seeing tweets, man, the sport is so much better when USC and Miami are good. No, let me translate that tweet for you. The sport is so much better when big cities that can move the needle and get high ratings and make me more money, that's when the sport's better for them.
Okay, that's a fair point, because I was going to say, when USC is, my feelings aside for USC,
because like here's a hint
for the sport when the blue bloods are good. Now, when you put it in that perspective, oh, absolutely, that's I want more money.
But here's the thing. I listened to Cowherd a lot back in the 2000s because he taught college football a lot. I love college football. The minute USC became a turd in a punch bowl, all of a sudden the college football talk kind of went away.
Really?
College football. Oh yeah, college football talk's about to make a. When I say he would talk, he'll talk. During the season, he'll talk to Joe Klatt every week on like that Tuesday or Wednesday or whatever. But I guarantee you, now that SC has got a little flash and pizzazz, you're gonna start hearing a lot more USC talk again. It's coming. Just pay attention. You'll see it. I promise you. Like it's gonna be back on the reg. Like what I mean is like not just he would bring up college football, just talk about it. But that's coming. So, but getting back to the whole top 25, it's just a slap in the face to assume that OU won't be ranked next year, preseason, end of season. It's just an insult. It's just lazy. And they got and then you have 40.
Though, Sean, is here's my question. Here's my question for you. Do they really believe what they're saying, though? Because others are
I think they do. I think they do, because they're lazy. But here's the thing. People are you got people who expect us to drop off a cliff. Like people are waiting. Like every program has a down period. Like people are waiting for us to fail. Like really, like a nosedive. Like people are waiting for like a '90s era to happen. Like what '90s era do you expect to take place here? Like you think we're gonna be like people really think that that's coming, because they're trying to find. It doesn't make sense for little old Oklahoma to be as consistently good as they've been, and that's what gives us the underdog card this year. For whatever reason, Oklahoma can play like how you see certain teams throughout the year, no one believed in us. It's like, screw you. You're like, whenever Alabama plays the no one believed in us card, like, fuck you. You're Alabama. No one believed in us. Go fuck yourself. Or the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes, people didn't believe in us. It's like, fuck you. You're Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs. All right. I don't want to hear this crap. You were in the AFC Championship game again. Fuck you. Sorry for all the F-bombs, but I need to make my point here.
So it's funny because that always will never not crack me up. No one believed in us. Yeah, you and your 7 rings that nobody believed in you.
But this is a year I'm gonna be like I'm on board with the whole hate, with the whole bitterness, pulling receipts. I'm gonna be a toxic son of a bitch at the end of the year if we pull off anything close to a Big 12 championship. I'm like, if we win the Big 12 this year, I'm gonna celebrate it like it was our first one in 2000. I promise you. Because it might be our last time in the Big 12, but I will promise me receipts will be pulled. I promise you that, because you got, this, that, like, Blinken put out like his list, like we did this, but we're not going to be ranked because, Houston's looking good. Well, we got to put Ole Miss up, and they weren't ranked before, but they got Jackson Dart, Michael Trick, so they're going to be good. Oh, well, Wisconsin's having a year. I mean, just like, I'm not mad if you rank us at 11. Like, if you want to put us anywhere from 11 through 25, fine. I don't care. Fine. Put us at 11 through 25. I'm not expecting this program to be a national title level team this year. But there are these people who think we're going to be like a 4, 5, or 6 loss team or some garbage like that. And it's like, I know Dylan Gabriel's not exciting for some of y'all out there, but he can win you a Big 12 title. I promise you. Dillon Gabriel is like he's like great value Baker Mayfield. He'll win you a Big 12. He'll win you a Big 12 title. I promise you that if you have the pieces around him. So
that's what I was thinking of him. He's
so
a step above Landry and a step below Baker.
So and I hate to get on this topic, but it's just because I know it's going to open this door, and I don't want to open it, but like certain members of the sports media on a national level just can't help themselves with the snark. They can't help themselves, man. Dell's one of these guys. Pat Forty's one of these guys.
JoJo.
And no, like I don't count. He's a TV guy. I'm talking about, but JoJo's like, whatever. Yeah, but it's like all college fan bases are insane. Some are more insane than the others, but we're all insane. Like the Oklahoma fan base is insane. We're not like cult level insane in College Station, but we're insane.
We don't throw tortillas in the field like Texas Tech.
But the response is that we're mad that we're not being picked to be a playoff team, no, we're being mad because you're saying we won't be ranked. That's like just an insult to this program, what it's accomplished over the past 20 years. That, based off last year's performance, like you do realize our coach had his foot halfway out, had 1 foot out the door, and we still were one. If a ref throws a flag, as he's supposed to, we probably go play in the Big 12 we're playing in the Big 12 title game. So it's just astounding to me that you don't think we're a top 25 team with the roster we have now.
But that's the thing, Sean, and I got a story for you. And mind you, everything was fine. But I'm going to tattle a little bit on my sister and my brother-in-law with it because they're part of that. With it, they're Aggie fans, and by Aggie I mean Oklahoma State, but they're Aggie fans, and it was just exhausting at Christmas. And we had a great visit. Don't get me wrong with it. We had great family time, everything. But they're like, so how do you think OU is going to do in the SEC? And I pride myself of being realistic. I think OU is going to do fine with it. I think we're in the first year we're going to see, but they're probably going to be a 9-win or a 10-win team. Where they're like, really? And no joke, I saw my dad just go. He's like not getting involved in this. I'm like, really? What are y'all thinking? Y'all are going to be about a 5-9 or 5-7 team. Really? Please tell me who we're going to lose to. Y'all are going to lose to that Kentucky team. Really? Y'all are going to lose to Vanderbilt. Really? Please.
Wait, no. Well, we're not playing the SEC yet. I don't know what that means, but all right.
Right. They said we're not going to walk in and be at least one of the top teams there. Not every year, like number one or something like that. Are you kidding? But they said we would lose seriously to Vanderbilt, Kentucky, even and trouble like Florida. I'm like, what are y'all smoking?
If you rank the SEC classes, including OU and Texas 1 to 16, we're 4th.
Yeah. That's what I said. I said we are realistically a number 5, in my opinion.
And here's the thing: we're not guaranteed to play those 3 or 4. Like outside of Texas, we're not guaranteed. Like Texas is one of them, by the way. They're like I'm trying to we're not guaranteed to play Georgia and Bama in the regular season. So it's just that again, just everyone assumes we're going to have the toughest schedule ever. It's the SEC schedule myth. Where my God, this gauntlet you have to play. The gauntlet Georgia had this year was a joke. There was no gauntlet. Now teams ended up being ranked, and games were interesting, like Arkansas and stuff like that. But they didn't have that big of a challenge till they really played Bama in the SEC title game, and they lost that one. But they bounced back and won in the Natty. But it's just. I just laugh at some of these, this gauntlet you're going to play. Oh, really? A gauntlet, huh? All right. Well, I look forward to playing Vandy and Kentucky and South Carolina. And I look forward to play Florida. Now, Billy Napier's supposedly the savior now. Call me. But to say we're not but to say we can't win 10 games on the reg in the SEC, especially with all the garbage non-conference games that they play on the reg. Give me a break.
Well, it's also too it's what you've said before. And I'm quoting you on this and probably paraphrasing a little bit. They're all not good at the same time. It's usually 2 teams that are usually good, and everybody else is a mid.
Bama and Georgia are good right now. LSU is a tire fire. Auburn is. You think Auburn's going to be good this year based on all the crap's going on? They're got to go. They're about to find a new head coach again. Tennessee is still kind of there. I mean, I'm rooting for Heupel to an extent, but Tennessee doesn't have their shit together.
Ole Miss is kind of.
I mean, Ole Miss is good and solid, or Kiffin. We'll see how long that lasts, but like they're like Kiffin doesn't stick around long term anywhere. He always bounces around. So Mike Leach at Mississippi State. I mean,
what's defense?
Yeah, so I mean,
I look forward to Shane Beamer in South Carolina. I do look forward to that. I think
the irony is that
real
USC. Yeah, I'm rooting like hell for Spencer.
Yeah, same here.
I'm rooting like hell, and Stogner too. Him and Stog, I'm rooting like hell for those guys. Please, go get a few upsets this year. I'm really like that is my until we're in the league. That is my SEC team next year. The South Carolina.
So USC.
Oh, yes, the real USC.
The real one. Yeah.
Gamecocks hate taters. So, but again, it's just that this idea that we're gonna fall off the map or we're not going to be good now because see that's the thing. This is what all leads back to. As someone who's consumed a lot of sports media, learned a lot about sports media, gotten a degree in the field of sports media, there's a lot of you find out the guys who actually do their homework and the guys who just skim and read some basic info, like the asshole at the Dallas newspaper who talked about Jim McKenzie. Oh,
God, yeah.
Mentioned, Jim McKenzie only lasted 1 year in Oklahoma. I wonder why. How could have that happened? So you find out the morons who just don't do their homework and don't understand why things work the way they work or why teams are consistently successful. Or it's like Herb Street, whether you love or hate Herb Street, Kirk Herbstreit does his homework. So you can disagree with Herb Street. Herb Street would have like a really old man opinion about, opting out of bowl games, but Herb Street does his homework and like when you hear him do play-by or call color for games, he knows the players. He knows, like, he makes references back to games. Like, what he's talking about. Joel Klatt can be, a Jim Harbaugh jock sniffer at times, but I like Joel Klatt to an extent. I don't disagree with everything he says, but that. So there are guys who live the sport, breathe the sport, but you can find the people who are just kind of like this bullshit their way through things. I like the solid verbal guys. I think who else off the top of my head. Andy Staples, I've grown to love. I've used to hate, but I've grown to love over the years. So I've grown to love Andy Staples. But yeah, just there are certain people like guys like Mandel and guys like Pat Forty are just like some of them are just turds at a punch bowl. And at the end of the day,
What about which ones did you mention? You mentioned Andy Staples. You mentioned Herb Street.
Andy Staples. I earned a lot of respect from Andy Staples when he stopped wearing a bow tie. Andy Staples got the message and stopped wearing bow ties because I've made a conscious decision that if I see anyone who wears a bow tie on the reg and it's not a black tie event or a wedding or a tuxedo, if you wear a bow tie on a regular basis, I just assume you're just a piece of shit. I just assume you're a douchebag.
That's fair. That's a very fair assessment.
It's like, what are you, a ventriloquist? 100%. I mean, if you're going to wear a tie, wear a tie. You're not a cartoon salesman.
This car right here. Boom. Yep.
This is kind of from a guy who watches a lot of cartoons. So, anyway.
But, and the thing that bugs me, and it was something I wanted to bring up and stuff as well, is I look at it from a moralistic, view, and I know that doesn't exist, but it drives me nuts that these sports people throw out some of these comments that make absolutely no sense at all, and they believe what they're saying. Like Mandel, for example. I'm like, Mandel, seriously, dude. Like,
many times? Let me clarify something. You're allowed to have an opinion. You're allowed to listen. I'm not saying he didn't do any homework or nothing, because you had to do something he had to go down a list and see who's gone and who this and that, but it's just assuming that a program of the caliber of Oklahoma, the way they've recruited, just because there's this narrative out there that we lost half of our football team.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also
what?
I mean, in theory too, you could also add in that. Yeah,
like number one, like here's the thing. Number one, there was guys we knew we were that were losing going to the draft anyway. Like our defensive line outside of like Redmond going to the league. We knew that going, regardless of what happened, they were gone. But you know, you lost these wide receivers. We lost 88 catches. We didn't lose 300. We lost 88 catches from the season total.
Right.
So it's like, don't sit here and tell me that Marvin Mims and Theo Weiss and Drake Stoops and guys like Jalil Farouk can't like be game breakers. Can't be the guys. That Dylan Gabriel, you think Dylan Gabriel going to spring is going, oh shit, I got no one to throw the ball to. No, Dylan Gabriel doesn't feel that way.
He's got Mims and Weiss and Drake, as you said.
He's got Jaden Gibson coming in, who's like a we got like a top 60 player in the country to come in last second at wide receiver, a legit blue chip who's like 6'5", who could run like a gazelle. You think Dylan Gabriel's like, fuck, I got no one to throw to. No, he didn't feel that way. Offensive line needs work. I hope a guy like a Savion Byrd takes the next step and steals one of those tackle spots, or Anton Harrison or Wande Morris like finally has a battle at left tackle or whatever. We need to work in listen, the offensive line needs work. I'm not going to sit here and deny it doesn't, but don't sit here and tell me that we don't have a quarterback who can win you games. Like Jeff Levy, just depending on how you look at it, you can look at he's trying to sell you something, but it's like if Caleb Williams didn't happen, who got the best quarterback transfer in the country? We did. So if we had to lose Caleb, the best available option out there was Dylan Gabriel. Well, Jackson Dart. People scream about Jackson Dart to Ole Miss. Jackson Dart played very sparingly. Dylan Gabriel's experience and has won a lot of games, and he'll give you something at least. And plus, we got Jackson Arnold for 2023 coming in for next year. We were able to replace a quarterback with a pretty decent one. So again, it all comes back to, it's just, again, I'm not saying we're going to be like world beaters, but we're not going to be ranked. To not say we won't be ranked is just an insult to the program. Like what they've invested in it, who they brought in, and it's a lot. It's difficult for people outside of the Oklahoma fan bubble that there are people out there who don't buy into the Venables hire as much as we do. Because believe me, this program bought into the Venables hire because I know it's been like a month and a half or whatever. I still can't get over his introduction. I've never seen anything like that in Oklahoma. I may never see it again, but you would have thought he had won 2 natties at this point.
They had everything.
Oklahoma, but yeah. But
to be fair, that if we're going to the SEC, that's what A&M does. They claim championships from other teams. I mean, that's what they do. They're part of that staff.
It's only February 6th, and we got like at least a month till spring. Anything spring football starts, and we're kind of like football content for the most part is over. It's done. The Super Bowl's next Sunday.
Olympics are on. Hey, do we know anybody in the Olympics?
I don't give 2 shits about the Olympics. I really don't.
I don't either. I'm going to be completely honest. It's just the one thing I have never really cared about. I'm like, oh, cool, it's happening.
Well, it's. Okay. I mean, I just don't care. I don't think I watched any of the Winter Olympics last time in 2018. I don't think I even watched any of it.
I don't watch the winter or the summer. They're just boring to me. And I'll be honest, it's one of the few sports that I just don't care about.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like it is, they go like the IOC goes all out for when it comes to production value and everything. I've seen some amazing documentaries of what they do to set. Like they will build a broadcasting studio at the Olympic site from scratch. Like they will build like a building from ground up and lay down and have all their shit set up. Like they scout ahead of time and they will build something from scratch. Just so they have their own custom building. It's like they don't rent a building; they build it from scratch. It is amazing what they do, and the technology they use to get like camera footage, like for swimming. It's really interesting. I just don't watch it.
I mean, you got to make the pyramid scheme at least somewhat presentable.
I mean, whatever, but
for OU though, like football stuff is. Like I said, outside of the spring game and outside of the NFL draft at this point, it is done. Now, for other sports, we've got softball coming up, and we have whatever's left of basketball for the men's, and the women's are probably going to the.
I mean, softball's coming up. The thing that sucks for OU fans is that if you want to watch any softball games, you got to drop $30 a month for like Flow Sports Online. Like the UCLA game's not even on ESPN Plus, which sucks.
Really?
No, it's not even on ESPN Plus. You have to drop $30.
That's stupid.
You like because like a lot of their games are gonna be streaming on this other website, like Flow Sports or whatever it's called. And I'm gonna ask Eric if he can. You got a user password I could use, right? Don't get me wrong. I can afford the $30 if I really have to. Yeah, and someone's saying, and it's not even a very good stream, so that sucks too. So.
Yeah,
I want to do softball content. So I was wanting to do a watch along for the UCLA game, but it's hard to do a watch along when most of your audience can't watch along because it's not on free TV. It's not even on ESPN Plus. So it's like OU's doing they're literally doing like 5 invitationals. Mm-hmm. They're just like literally like 4 to 5 invitationals, and then they'll get into conference play like in March. So. But I will, and people say just listen to Plank. I get that. You can listen to Plank, and I have nothing against listening to Plank. It's great to do that. But I think that's cool to listen to Plank when you're actually at a game. You got, you're listening on your phone or whatever. That's more fun to do it that way because you get your play-by-play while you're there. This is one of those times where it's like, being in Norman wouldn't matter because these invitationals aren't in Norman. So it wouldn't matter anyway. You'd still have to find a way because they're going to be out California or wherever the hell they're going to be. So it's just what I find fascinating about softball is that football is obviously king, and I would go basketball's number 2, but softball is a solid number 3 sport on campus without question. And I would even argue, just based on where the men's basketball team is right now, I might bump up softball to number 2 at the moment.
I'd have softball. Okay. Football.
I might, for the moment, I might, like, once OU men's basketball gets rolling, it's back to number 2 without question. But as of right now, I got to give the girls and Patty Gasso solid number 2 right now.
I would give it number 2. And you know what sucks? And I've always have said it. They're probably number 4, maybe number 5. The gymnastics, if you can get invested in it and watch it, it's fantastic.
It's just so hard. There's nowhere. It's not easy to like watch it. And again, you talked about you don't watch Olympics. What's one of the biggest events in Summer Olympics? Gymnastics.
Yeah, see, I love watching gymnastics, both the men's and the women's. Fantastic. I love seeing what they put on the field, the vault, dance routine, everything, but like the normal Olympics.
It's just so hard. One of the tough things about it, you can appreciate the talent that it takes to do what they do, the athletic ability, but it's all, I've always talked about how college football is like an opinion sport. There is no bigger opinion sport than gymnastics because everything is based on a judge's scorecard. So you can see you could see like a rhythmic routine. You can see them on the uneven bars, the rings, whatever the events are. It's just, and you got multiple events going on at multiple times, and it's just. I remember watching that they'll put on like the NCAA championship like final like on ESPNU, and I remember watching like I think the girls came up short this past year, and if I recall correctly, but it was it's just like they keep winning championships. Like they keep cranking them out. They're always at the final. They're always in the mix. So both programs are fantastic right now. But softball is it's like the best watch. of all the women's sports. But props to the women's basketball team. That's another thing. I don't have Bailey Sports. It's tough to watch them. But at some point, that is going to change because this team might be able to make a little bit of a run. You never know.
I think they will. See, now, for those of y'all watching who don't know, and Sean knows more than I worked for Sooner Vision for about 3 years. I have a greater appreciation for gymnastics and softball when you work the event because you understand the scoring, you understand more of the players, how they get these scores and everything. That's what makes it so intriguing to me, except baseball. I tried, guys. It makes me un-American. I don't like baseball. Baseball to me is boring.
Are you kidding? It doesn't make you un-American at all. Nobody watches baseball anymore. It's a dying sport.
When you have 200 games a year, you know.
Well, it's not even that. It's just that, like, how many sports shows, like talk shows, do you watch, like, or just casually watch on occasion? A lot. Like on occasion, you casually watch. You'll have ESPN on or FS1 on, like the casual talk shows, right? Whether it's First Take or whatever, right? On occasion, you'll watch those, correct? How many times do they go out of their way to talk baseball?
World Series. That's it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Or if
someone got in trouble, or someone said something,
or a big name got traded. Yeah, or it's the World Series. Someone gets in trouble, or the Hall of Fame because they get pissed off on.
Or someone might break a record. But hey, there was a big game between the Yankees and Red Sox last night. Let's talk about what this means for the They don't do that anymore for baseball.
No, they don't.
Like the NFL gets that talk. The NBA gets that talk. Major League Baseball does not get the same discussion that it did like 20, 30 years ago. Nobody talks about a pennant race. They just don't.
Because in Sooner Vision we talked about it a little bit where it's, and I know we're getting off topic because I do want to bring up before we do end stream, Sean, here in about 15 minutes. I do want to bring up Perry-on Winfrey, so keep that in mind because he was a beast. But the thing with baseball is there's too many games as the casual fan. If we talk about football pushing out the casual fan for attending games, baseball's the same way. You can't keep up with over 100 games to watch, and you can't get invested in it because it's too hard to follow.
Well, they don't know how to market their stars. There's fewer and fewer kids playing baseball.
Yeah, it's corrupt. That's why.
On the little league level, it's fewer and fewer, and that's why you see a lot of like international stars come in and kick ass. And don't get me wrong, like I think my favorite baseball player that I would love to watch on the reg is Shohei Ohtani for the Angels. I think he's fantastic. I think he should be like one of the. See, that's the problem. You don't know who Shohei Ohtani is, and he's like one of the most, like, the dude can pitch and bat. Like he is the most complete baseball player on the planet, and he should be one of the biggest stars in all of sports in the country right now, in the world. And I just name dropped him. And you don't know who Shohei Ohtani is. That's a problem.
Yeah, I think baseball's going the same route. In my opinion, feel free to disagree. Like boxing. The moment, and that's why it's got me really worried about college football and football in general, when the money people started to get really invested in it and start pushing the casual people away, we're kind of seeing that effect.
Football's not going away.
I don't think so with it, but I do think it's changing.
Football is there's a reason I didn't do a stream with you last week and the week before, because the TV product is amazing. Correct. Like what we saw the past couple of weeks of the NFL is why it is in good shape. Because remember a couple of years ago when like a bunch of Trump voters said, "Oh, the NFL is in trouble now." I was like, "Shut up! The NFL is just fine." I was like, "Listen, I'm not trying to make this political thing, but when a bunch of Trump people are telling me the NFL is going to be in trouble, it's like you're all idiots. Like the NFL is doing even better ratings than ever now."
Correct, and something to keep in mind with that as well is TV's down across the board. Does the NFL really care if they're in trouble, if they're still the number one on it, even with it down? No, they don't. They're going to cash that check every day of the week with it. It's free money. And streaming streaming is still a little more ways off than what people think it is for like consistency.
Well,
maybe about 20 years.
Well, streaming is the future, obviously. And
correct.
The one thing keeping cable alive is live sports. Or just live events in general. Like in order to watch it live. The moment they figure that out, how to get where streaming and live sports are like, because the only time I'm on live TV is when I'm watching a game of any sorts.
Me too.
Like my TV is constantly on HBO Max. It's my favorite streaming platform at the moment. I love HBO Max has like all my favorite cartoons, my favorite dramas, some of my favorite movies. Like I'm finding a reason to not watch HBO Max, and I'm still not out of content to watch.
Yeah,
like I went through. Here's what I went through. I went through the entirety of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Rick and Morty, some anime series that were on there that I liked, that I own Blu-rays of. I just watched them on HBO Max. Think about that for a moment. Yeah. I could have watched the Blu-ray on my shelf, but it was on HBO Max, so I watched it. What else did I have on here? I went through all 24 seasons of South Park just recently because I could watch it.
They killed Kenny.
I went and watched all of South Park for the most part.
I'm so proud of you.
And also, they just put up the latest episode a couple days ago of the first episode of the new season. So they're updating.
Pajama Day!
Yeah, Pajama Day was so great.
It was hysterical.
Oh my God.
I watched it the next day. I was like, this is just great. We have to wear a pajama. Wendy, this is your problem now. What?
I love like the COVID specials were all fantastic.
Oh, I loved the last season of it where it was all the pandemic special and it just kept getting better and better. Fantastic.
Well, no, I got the free trial to watch the Paramount specials, and I love like where it goes. It's in the future where they're all adults.
Yeah.
And Cartman converts to Judaism and converts to be a Jew and marries a Jewish. He gets married to a Jewish woman, has a Jewish, and then Kyle is just so pissed off. And then Cartman just looks at him because he's literally like a rabbi and he's got all this stuff on. He's like, Kyle, do you really believe that I would go through all this just to get a rise out of you? Yes, I would believe it. In the joke, and what makes it hilarious, the entire joke is just that he did it, and Cartman sincerely did it legitimately. He wasn't doing it just to get a rise. And when they fixed everything in the past through time travel or whatever, everyone's lives ended up better except Cartman.
I felt so bad for Cartman.
I don't feel bad for Cartman. Cartman's like the worst human ever.
Now, what's funny is, to me, what tied it all together as well was he knew about integrity. Which made it even funnier because, like, the next day they came out with a preliminary study that marijuana may potentially block COVID, and everyone's like, they knew. God, they knew. Integrity. Something like I had not watched South Park in years, so I watched a lot of the I'm so disappointed in you. I love South Park.
I've gone through all of it now because I watched like the last 10 years or so, because I stopped watching like when PC Principle became a thing is when I kind of fell off of it a little bit. But I got
Once
back
they found his niche, it was great.
Yeah, he became like a seamless character. But like my favorite kind of like South Park like real life moment was when it was like at its peak, in my opinion. You remember like the Imagination Land trilogy? That's like one of my favorite ones ever. Like I love one of the great like visual, not even a gag, but just like when they're doing like the Lord of the Rings, like where everyone's getting ready for the battle, and they're doing an homage to where the kids are getting armor and they're getting swords, and they give Snarf from Thundercats, like, and it's like, God, it's just. But this is the thing I love about South Park, because I was in the Army. I was at 7th Special Forces Group. I was in the C&E shop, communications electronics, and our captain was in there, and he's like, dude, did you see South Park last night? I was like, yeah, Imagination Land. It's really funny. He's like, dude, that was fucked up. I was like, and like, this is South Park. You have to be a little more specific when you say that was fucked up. He's like, and he was talking about like, did you see Jesus was there? I'm like, and like in my mind, Jesus being on South Park is like, yeah, Jesus is a character on South Park. He's like, dude. He's like, no, dude, Jesus was in Imagination Land. Like, what? I'm like, oh. that's the way he took it. Because like when Jesus was there, I just didn't think twice. Yeah, Jesus is on
because
South
he's
Park.
always been a character. Yeah,
Jesus is a character on South Park. I didn't think twice about it, but I was like, oh, I guess if you interpret it that way, sure.
See, I always laugh, and especially in this later season. I told friends and I've gotten them to watch it again when I'm like, look through it through a different lens. When it's not about the kids, it's about Randy. It completely changes the tone.
See, I hate Randy. I genuinely hate Randy.
Randy's a dick. I hate Randy too, but
I hate Randy specifically because he looks exactly like my stepfather. And I hate my stepfather with a passion. So when I see the mustache and everything, I just like you look just like my asshole stepfather. I want to fucking murder you. I just hate him so much.
See, for me, I hate Randy because, like, yes, the show is more about Randy, of course, but like he's such a dick that he literally looks everything through tunnel vision. And he doesn't see the world around him, which causes so much problems.
I like it when bad things happen to him. I like it when bad things
absolutely
happen
like.
To him.
But I will say my hatred for Randy.
Stan! Shelley! No. The episode I really liked from a recent season was the Halloween episode where all the kids well, you don't even know which one I'm talking about.
I do.
Where all the kids came up with the idea to use the e-scooters.
Yes, that's it. The scooting.
And like Mr. Mackey tried to get rid of all because they kept appearing and they kept multiplying. Where all these e-scooters come from? It's like no one knows. Who bought them? Nobody knows. They just show because it's funny because I've been to LA a couple times for Anime Expo. I went 2 years in a row, and those scooters are around. Like those e-scooters are around they're all around LA. And it's like so when I saw them show up, I was like, oh, I know what those things are. I've seen those before in Los Angeles. It's like nobody knows where they come from.
Mine was in the moment because when that episode aired, when they suddenly appeared in the city and nobody knew what was going on, and the city was freaking out. These rival. Yeah, they're like, where do these come from? How are they sending it? Oh, that we found out like the company was just literally just dropping them off and driving away. And just we'll pick them up, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And what cracked me up, see, in that episode, it was not just the scooting, but it was the adults were going to the other adults' houses to get candy to bring it back to their house to hand out so they didn't get TP'd. One of the funniest things. One of my favorite episodes from the latest season actually was Christmas Snow, because Randy had to keep figuring out how to make the marijuana appeal. Oh yeah, that's
that's cocaine. It's like,
Randy.
So you should be arrested.
Oh goodness.
My favorite, like one thing I kind of like. I know we're so off topic here, but who cares?
Oh, I know too.
I loved that a couple of seasons before, like they decided to go like season-long storyline, and I'm like, I don't know if I like this, but at the same time, it kind of worked for me. I loved the entire saga with Heidi Turner being Cartman's girlfriend. And
that was hysterical.
And it started off amazing because like I love this idea that like kids, if they're off social media or lose their phones, they might as well be dead, and they treated her like she actually died, but she just didn't have social media anymore. And then she's like, Heidi Turner's deleted her Twitter account. Oh. And they just like it's like and at the same and they thought Cartman was responsible for like all the hazing, and it wasn't her. It turned out to be Kyle's dad. Kyle's dad is like a bigger piece of shit, is the biggest piece of shit on the internet. But that's the whole, they took all of his devices, they smashed him, and then it's just like it was just, and Cartman just became a better person because he wasn't like tarnished, or he didn't become toxic because of the internet and social media, and he just became a genuinely good person. But as he got back to normal and things, it's like, oh god, I'm just watching this whole thing develop. And see, it was I thought it was hilarious. It was so
for the
good.
Season long one, I laughed at that, but I laughed more of the entire plot of it was to get a Whole Goods. That was hysterical to me. That
was like a whole epic where the whole town became. It was turning into like
Shitty Pot Town. Shitty Pot Town.
Yeah, just it was It was literally because I saw like the lofts and everything. We have those like in South Orlando. We have like loft apartments and all down by the theme parks and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, I could, because when I thought I had the one big job I was looking forward to, I was actually looking at lofts apartments down in South Orlando. I'm serious. I was actually as a possibility. Oh, these look really nice. I could live down there in South Orlando. But yeah. At the same time, it was just I love the Coon and Friends stuff with Cthulhu, and I love the My Neighbor Totoro parody with Cthulhu and the song. It cracks me up every time.
Yeah. My favorite.
They literally made Cthulhu Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro. Just slays me every time I see that shit.
See, for me, I love Imagination Land. I love the classic ones, but if I needed one that was like an extended story, I love when they parody Game of Thrones.
Oh, that was a good one. Like, and then the old man's like, he's just going to betray you. Get out of my garden! Get out of my garden! It's the old man just screaming at Cartman, always bringing them to like his garden that he just wants to walk through, just because it's like Game of Thrones. Like that was a
good one.
That was like one of the last episodes that I watched on the reg. Wasn't the last one, but it was just, that was definitely one of the ones that I like. This is so good. And then it was all build up for a video game, which I played.
That was fantastic too.
Yeah, the video game was actually good, fun to play. So at least it worked out at the end of the day. Like that's what got me to rewatch South Park, because I played the Stick of Truth game.
Oh, I love the Stick of Truth.
And then it's like, I want to watch South Park, but it's but yeah, like, you talk about Imagination Land. Like to me, my favorite parts in all Imagination Land are just like the random parts where people just like crash through a window in the Pentagon when they don't have to. When they show up, they just like crash through a window. It's like, why is it so easy for children to break into the Pentagon?
I like the one where that from Imagination Land with it's like, we see something through the portal. It's like, oh man, no, it's a bear. No, it's a pig. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and then Man Bear Pig actually did come back, and the reason
was hysterical.
And then it turns out they had to make a deal with Man Bear Pig, and he had his lawyer, and they had to give up certain things.
Now, I got one more thing, South Park, and then I do want to talk about Perry on Winfrey. Two things. The first one was from that Game of Thrones ones, cracked me up that they made Kenny an anime princess. Hysterical. Kenny, I know we all want to play the girl part at some point, but you are not an anime princess. And she had her own theme
Princess
song.
Kenny.
The funniest one from the new South Park, that new one when they went to the future, that cracked me up. And I figured it out near the end, right as they were about to say it too. I absolutely hate and love how dirty they did Butters, where it's like, well, howdy, fellas. Have you heard about this cool new thing called NFTs? Poor Butters.
Butters is like the best character in all South Park.
Absolutely.
You totally. No, my favorite episode of all time, just by rewatching all of it, were I kind of like really on a super sad level relate to. I forget what it's called. It's the episode where they did the parody of JonBenet Ramsey.
Oh yeah.
Where everyone thought Butters was dead, or they thought or his mom thought that he killed him instead of it's just like all the drama between his parents and like all the crazy shit that went on. It's like, I relate to this way too much on the personal level.
Was that the one where Cartman, where he planned it as a nuke or whatever, and it was just to go to Casa Bonita?
No. This was like totally separate. This was like a Butters centric episode where I think Butters found out what his dad was doing. Like,
oh yeah. Okay.
But like his dad was secretly he was secretly gay.
Yeah.
His mom took him in the car and drove the car into the river, and the river with Butters just floated down. Eventually, they said, "Our son is missing," this and that, and it's like it was just a whole, basically making fun of like the parents of JonBenet.
It was so meta. Oh man, and Butters.
Oh my god!
No idea. Butters
it is such a fucked up episode, and I love it so much. But anyway,
South Park. South Park, man.
I rediscovered my love for South Park, and the Crack Baby episode's still great too. I love that one.
You need to play since you played Stick of Truth. It's not as good as the first one, but you need to play the Fractured Butthole.
I need to get a new system first to play it. I still have a PS3.
Oh,
one day when PS5s are readily available, I'll get one, but they never are. So,
I mean, you could do Cartman's thing and just freeze yourself until they're widely available.
With what? With what snow in Florida? What snow is available? I'm sorry. Like where am I going to go to do that? And I don't want to. I know what you're thinking. It's not worth it. Fuck you. Anyway, that's our South Park podcast for tonight.
That was fun. Let's talk about really fast Perion Winfrey and his.
He's really good, and he won the Pro Bowl MVP. Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I was surprised that he did actually. I was legitimately, and you mentioned it, and I'm giving you 100% credit for it. It disappoints me who we had here and what potential he could have had under Venables.
I mean,
I really do think he could have excelled even more.
I mean, there was like there's a Twitter argument about whether he was either lazy or who was at fault for why Perion Winfrey wasn't as good as that. I don't know. I don't want to get into the argument of like he was either lazy, not trying, or he was not played, wherever. I'm not here for that argument. He's really, really good. He loves repping Oklahoma. He was proud to rep the school, so I'm glad he's got that going for him. And I hope he has many. I said Pro Bowl, I meant Senior Bowl. If I said Pro Bowl, I'm sorry, because I got the Pro Bowl in mind from today because we had but Senior Bowl MVP. But anyway, 2 dishes are best served cold: revenge and the Reese's he got in his trophy. So I hope he goes into. He's got a really good chance to be a first round pick, like I've always thought he could be. And whoever gets him is going to get an awesome defensive lineman. So awesome. That's pretty much it. There's not much else to say.
Do you think he'll be first round or second round?
I think he'll go in the first round. He's got to do a few more. He's got to go through combines and interviews. And I think if he does all the tests, if he tests well, interviews well, I think he's going to be a first round pick. But this is the beginning. This is like the first big step. So he's on his way. Yeah. If he takes care of business and everything else, he'll be good. I think.
And we'll definitely talk about it as we get closer to the NFL draft, like where do we think they're going to land and everything. See, now I will mention one thing, Sean, though, unrelated to Perion, since you went over it where it's just like, yeah, he did great. Cool. You know how we have the running joke of breaking news always seems to happen on Sunday nights during the live stream? Breaking news out of Las Vegas, Sean. Alvin Kamara has basically a warrant out for his arrest.
What?
Yeah, for substantial bodily harm. He has a warrant. Every Sunday, man.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Alvin Kamara? Oh, my God. What? I'm looking at this, too.
Oh, he was arrested. I'm sorry. There was a warrant, but he was arrested. The key word in it, substantial is the key word in that. That means something happened.
That's one of the better skill players in the league. And
he's out. I think he's done. Him and Ruggs, right? It was Ruggs. Yeah, it was Ruggs. I think he's out.
I mean,
depending on what happened, I don't think you come back from that.
I mean, I'll wait until all the information comes out. But man, that is if that turns out to be the case and he's guilty and whatever pops up from that, what a waste.
Again, it's sad. I mean, I only know him of association because, I'll be honest, I so watch NFL here and there. I had him on my fantasy team, and he did great. I mean, and that's how I learned about these players.
He was on the Tennessee team in 2015. So
yeah, and he was good. He was good, and it's just another sad situation on it.
Well, again, we'll wait for more info to come out, but it's sad. Like he'll whatever the extent or whatever happened, but he'll get suspended for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway.
It's basically they said there was an incident at a Las Vegas nightclub, and that he was arrested after I think it was after the Pro Bowl.
Okay, yeah, I obviously want to see more and hear more, but
yeah,
we'll see what happens.
We'll wrap up here though. Yep, we'll wrap up here though, Son. Do you got anything going on next 2 weeks? Anything OU football related or outside of softball?
I mean, unless we get a commitment, or I don't think there's any really OU football content down the pipeline for a while. So it's just, I mean, there'll be opinions. I'm sure someone will put out a ranking or say something stupid I can commentate on. But other than that, I don't expect anything big to happen. Like, you never know. But here, like, one thing I'll say real quick, there'll be some guys that will leave the program just because they're going to figure things out in the next few months if they fit in. And I'm not saying it's going to be any big names or anything, but we'll see what happens with certain players. If, like, you know, based on like portal and guys entering, leaving, that's still going to be a thing. So just keep an eye. I think the transfer portal is basically all I can say at this point. It's like something happens. That's all I can think about.
As well as if they survive the Schmitty workouts right now.
Yeah, that's a
thing. That's a thing.
Gotta start. Every journey begins with first one step on the step mill. You know, get on the Stairmaster. So.
Yep, and I mean that was funny when they were interviewing. They're like, "How's the workouts going?" They're like, "Bro, that first day I thought this was okay, and then it just kept going." And it was like, they're like, "Coach, I can't feel my legs." That sounds like a lot of excuses that I don't want to hear. Goodness. So, Sean, thank you again for joining me this week as well. Everybody, if you're not subscribed to Sean, go check out his channel as well. Same thing. Thanks for everybody who tuned in tonight. It was a blast talking about just National Signing Day and just kind of everything on our minds in general. So be sure to comment, rate, subscribe, and hit the notification bell when we go live. We go live about every other Sunday at this point, same time, same place, about 8 o'clock Central Time. I heard
I got a tidbit, but I'll share it with you off the air.
Okay. Sounds good. So again, guys, thank y'all, and we'll see y'all here probably in the next 2 weeks, guys. So Boomer Sooner, and there's only one.